What happens when a narcissist sees you as being too strong for their liking? It depends on the kind of narcissist you're dealing with, but the pattern, once you see it, is almost impossible to miss again. A more fragile, covert narcissist will often be drawn to your strength at first, your confidence, your courage, your steadiness, but that attraction never lasts. The moment your strength starts to shine a light on their own inadequacies, their own lack of integrity, their own emptiness underneath the performance, you stop being admired and start being a threat. And once you're a threat, you become the villain in their story. They become the victim. That's the role they always play, in every situation, even the ones they created themselves and continue to feed. Does that sound familiar to you? A more overt, grandiose narcissist follows a similar arc, just louder. At first, your strength is a challenge they find irresistible. They want to be the one who finally gets through to you, the one who tames what no one else could. But that only lasts as long as it takes them to realize you can't be swayed, manipulated, or controlled. Once that becomes clear, your strength stops being a thrill and starts being a problem, a big one. And in their mind, that problem justifies whatever they decide to do about it. Here's something most people don't realize. Narcissists don't usually target people at random. If you've ever been targeted by someone like this, it's often because you bring something real to the table. You're likely empathic, likely kind, likely accomplished, likely thoughtful in ways that take effort to build. You are, in almost every visible way, the opposite of what they are underneath their own performance. And in the beginning, that's exactly why they wanted you close. Your light made them look good by proximity. They liked that, for a while. But narcissists are wired to need authority over the people around them. They need to maintain an illusion of superiority, even when that illusion has nothing real underneath it. So sooner or later, your strength was always going to become a problem. Sometimes that shift happens fast. Sometimes it takes months, even years to fully surface. But when it does happen, you'll know. The shift is never subtle once it arrives. A covert narcissist might hide their fear and jealousy for a while, masking it as concern or quiet disapproval. An overt narcissist usually can't hide it at all. They swing from charming to cutting in the space of a single conversation, and the contrast itself becomes its own kind of warning sign. What ties both types together is this: they need to feel in control. As long as they're getting their way, things stay calm. The moment they're not, the moment it becomes clear they can't dominate you, manipulate you, or quietly steer your choices, something in them reacts. Their ego takes a hit, and that reaction, whatever happens next, usually has very little to do with you and everything to do with them. If they can't pull you into self-doubt or guilt, if gaslighting doesn't work, if you simply will not bend, they're left with a narrower set of tools. So they shift tactics. Instead of trying to control you directly, they try to control how other people see you. This is one of the quieter, more corrosive parts of the pattern. When a narcissist can't control you, they feel exposed by you. And rather than sit with that exposure, they go to work shaping the narrative around you. Often long before you even notice anything is wrong. They'll smile to your face while quietly undermining you to others. They'll tell a different story depending on who's listening. This isn't occasional dishonesty. For someone with this pattern, lying by omission or outright distortion can become almost effortless, carried out without much visible guilt or hesitation. This dynamic shows up everywhere. In families, where a parent can't stand a child who won't be controlled. In friend groups, where one person works to keep others from seeing someone too clearly. In workplaces, relationships, and extended family systems alike. The goal is always the same: protect the image, no matter the cost to the truth. Underneath all of it is one consistent need. A narcissist has to feel superior, dominant, and in control. Your strength was attractive when it served that need. It becomes intolerable the moment it doesn't. And here's the part worth sitting with. The very traits that made you a target are the same traits that mean you're not easy to manipulate. You're not easily swayed by other people's opinions of you. You're boundaried, self-reliant, clear about who you are. You think for yourself, feel for yourself, and trust your own judgment instead of constantly outsourcing it to someone else's approval. That kind of groundedness is rare. It's also exactly what makes you unsuitable for the kind of relationship a narcissist is looking for. Once triggered, the behavior often escalates beyond just managing your reputation. They'll start pointing out your mistakes, real or imagined, with a strange kind of enthusiasm, as if hoping to keep you from ever feeling too settled in yourself. They might bring up things you said or did years ago, holding them over you like an old photograph they refuse to take down, no matter how much you've grown since then. Anything that can be used to make you doubt yourself becomes ammunition. Not because they're tracking the truth carefully, because they're tracking your confidence, looking for the easiest place to apply pressure. It can be hard to believe people behave this way for no greater reason than their own insecurity. But this pattern repeats constantly in countless relationships, driven almost entirely by someone's own buried sense of inadequacy rather than anything you've actually done. So what helps if you recognize this pattern in your own life? Start by creating distance, as much as you reasonably can. Reducing contact reduces their access to you and reduces the energy this dynamic feeds on. If full distance isn't possible right away, minimizing emotional engagement, staying calm and unreactive around them, can limit how much power the dynamic still holds. From there, give yourself real space to heal, not just to recover from one relationship, but to understand the deeper pattern that drew you into it, so you're less likely to find yourself in the same dynamic with someone new down the road. And finally, build the skill of boundaries. Real, steady, unapologetic boundaries. This is something almost none of us are taught growing up, yet all of us eventually need it. Learning to hold a limit without guilt, without over-explaining, without needing anyone else's permission to protect your peace, is one of the most transformative skills you can build. Because here's the truth underneath all of this. Your strength was never the problem. It was simply incompatible with a relationship that depended on you being smaller than you actually are. And the moment you stop shrinking to keep that kind of peace, you stop being useful to a dynamic that only ever worked because you weren't fully yourself. That's not a flaw in you. That's the exit door, finally open.